Dubai, the home of sun, sea, and of course, low taxes. Now, a common question I get asked is, should you invest in Dubai? And is Dubai a good place to invest? Now, in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive analysis in order to answer that question. We're going to look at GDP. We're going to look at population growth. We're going to look at cost per area, rental income per area, yields. We're going to look at new builds. We're going to look at every single facet of the Dubai property market in order to answer this question for you guys. And if that sounds like something interesting to you, feel free to stick around for this video and also subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and also stock analysis. With that being said, let's dive in. Okay, so let's start right at the top. Is Dubai a good place to invest? Well, let's look at the facts here. Population, strong market performance, tax advantages, high rental yields, average yield 5 to 7%, significantly higher than other cities, strong government initiatives and investment. So that's just a real top level overview to say the positives of investing in Dubai. Now let's dive into each one of those in a lot more detail. So firstly, let's look at population, because really property prices and places to invest is all about population growth. Are more people arriving than leaving? As of April 2025, Dubai's population has reached 3.9 million people, marking a close to 6% increase. So basically, we're seeing an extra 220,000 new residents per year. Now, the prior year, it was up 3.54%, before that 2%, and before that 2%. So it's clear that the number of people moving to Dubai is accelerating. And since 2011, the population has doubled, growing from 1.93 million to nearly 4 million in just 14 years. Now, let's dive into this a little bit deeper. So I will say, from somebody who lives in Dubai, that there is a lot of people who are transitory in Dubai. So they may set up a company here, they may set up a base here, but they may not be here all the time. So that might skew the property prices, rental prices that we see. However, usually people will still need a long-term contract or a monthly contract, or they'll purchase somewhere and they just won't live in it much. So for the property market, I think it's still fine. And we can say, okay, that is a green tick on population growth. The population is growing. Dubai is getting more popular. And it's not just because Dubai is great, it's super safe, it's nice and sunny, etc., etc. It's also because where else would you go? Like, if you look at Europe right now, it's so crazy. And it's, in terms of quality of life, it's just not that great. We've seen record number of millionaires leaving places like the UK. They've introduced non-dom tax and a variety of other reasons. So Dubai really does offer a safe haven for people to set up a new life. Now, of course, 0% income tax. They have introduced corporate tax recently, but it's still fairly low compared to most other countries. And there's also a buffer for small businesses. So it's still a great place to live, great place to potentially invest. Let's dive into more details. So the second factor we're going to look at is GDP, gross domestic product. Now, this is how much value, I would say, an economy is creating, to simplify it down. 4.39%. Now, let's compare this to UK GDP growth, which UK does have a larger economy, as it were. So it's not exactly easy to compare percentages, but I can see some 2023 figures, a little bit old, but 0.3%, France 0.9%, US 2.9%. Now, the UK did have some positive figures for 2025 with an expected 1.2% growth. So it's clear the UK has a larger economy, but still, compared to Dubai's 4.39%, Dubai is obviously a smaller economy, but it's growing much quicker. Okay, so what about property prices in Dubai? Are they gradually increasing, or are they falling? Are they crashing, as often people say? So we can see here in this chart, and credit to DXB Interact for some great data, we can see since 2012, the median price of a property, I believe this might be in the local currency dirhams, potentially per square foot. Yes, per square foot in dirhams, likely 832 per square foot. That was in 2012, and by 2024, we're up to 1,524. Versus 2014, it is up 51.9%. Overall property prices across all areas. Year over year, 11.6%, which is very strong. And you can see really the big turning point was COVID 2020. And during that time, I think everybody really had a reset that lifestyle is very important. And Dubai obviously seemed like a great place to be, especially for its healthcare, safety, etc. So that was a real acceleration point for Dubai from 2020, boom, to 2024 and hopefully into 2025. So that's another tick for Dubai. Property prices are increasing. So it's a great place to invest and then hopefully benefit from those capital gains. Now, in terms of the property price change per area, because that makes a huge difference. Dubai is a huge place and there's a vast difference between the Palm and, let's say, Dubai Land or one of these outside places or Silicon Oasis. So there's so many different places. Each area has its own micro market in terms of property prices, costs, etc. Now, a positive of this is it means if you want to buy, there is something for all ranges. If you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire, there's plenty for you. If you're somebody who's on a budget, there's plenty for you. So there's a huge range of property prices and it's suitable for everybody. I personally think it's a better setup than in the UK. Yes, London is expensive. The big cities, Manchester, Birmingham, they're a little bit cheaper, but still a little high. You can go right out into the countryside and it's cheap. But in Dubai, you'll still only be maybe 20-30 minutes, depending on traffic, from the main city center places, even if you're far out. And you can be paying a significantly lower amount of rent or purchase price. Property price changes per area. Palm Jumeirah, this is talking about commercial property here, but that's up 12,000%. So really significantly high. You can see different areas here. This Wadi Al Safa area seems to be quite popular, and also Dubai Creek, in terms of the property prices are increasing in that area, which could be an indication of high demand or also low supply, but I think it's more to do with the demand. So as you can see here, Wadi Al Safa 4, huge amount of volume increase in terms of sales and in all these areas. So that's quite interesting to see that in these areas. Now, just an indication of where that area is, it is close to what's called Arabian Ranches. So it's this area here. This area here is the Wadi Al Safa area. Interesting area. I haven't visited there myself, but the beauty is it's 26 minutes to the Dubai Marina, just as an indication of where it is. And let's see how far it is to the Burj. It's just one example of a 26 minutes to the Burj Khalifa. So I think it's pretty clear why this area is so popular. You've got Global Village here. You've got a lot going on in terms of a micro area, and you've got 25 to 30 minutes from downtown, 25 to 30 minutes from Marina. Probably a very quiet area, so you can see why there's a lot of demand for this area. You've got schools close by, interesting area to check out. Okay, so what about the price per square foot? You can also see that on this map here. So you can see in green is the lowest price per square foot and red is of course the highest. I'm looking at one bedrooms here as an example. Now, what are the top 5 areas by sales volume? So you've got Jumeirah Village Circle, which in 2024 had 7,204 transactions, up from 6,600 transactions the year before. Now, that means there's a lot of interest in that area. I know there's a huge amount of building going on there. It's a great area in that it's 15 to 20 minutes from the Marina, so it's pretty close to everything. There is a very bad road called Hessa Street, which has extremely bad traffic, but they are expanding that by Q4 2025. So that could be great for the area. You also have it quite close to the new airport, Al Maktoum, I believe it's called, and also Jabel Ali, which is going to be the new Palm. So it's quite close to those areas. So JVC is a very interesting place, and I think it's an emerging place, and I think it will gradually get better and better. And you can get some really great apartments there at fairly reasonable prices right now. Second highest performing area is this Wadi Al Zafa 5, and that area I just showed you. Then we have Business Bay, which of course is the classic, right next to downtown. If you're looking at Business Bay, it's a lot higher price per square foot, 2,300 dirhams per square foot. Again, JVC is much cheaper. Wadi Al Zafa 5 is much cheaper. So they're great areas. And you can also see the raw prices there, million dirhams median price for property in JVC. Business Bay is 1.7, so Wadi Al Zafa is 1.1. So you can see these places are a lot more emerging and also have great property prices there. Rental volume, in terms of rental volume, you can see Jabal Ali, you can see a big increase. This was in 2025, up from 8,700 contracts to 12,000 contracts. JVC doubled the number of contracts year over year. There has been a lot more properties online, so perhaps that has influenced it as well. Business Bay also a huge increase. So very, very popular areas, and you can see a rough overview of the areas here. Dubai Hills is also a very popular area, but a lot more expensive. So average price per square foot 2,500 versus, let's say you're at JVC 1,400. So of course, it depends on number of bedrooms, quality, etc., but you can see Dubai Creek, Dubai Hills, Dubai Islands, Palm, they're a lot more expensive. So it all depends on your budget, where you want to live, if you want to be close to work, if you're working in an office, all part of your decision. Capital gains and rental income. Let's just look at a quick couple of figures on this. Palm Jumeirah capital gain. Highest capital gain is in Palm Jumeirah, Dubai Marina, Dubai Hills Estate recently, of course. That means the prices have gone up the most then. You can see here capital gains, rental income. And again, since 2020, rental income has increased in price overall for the entire market. And capital gains has shot up significantly. So prices since 2020 have shot up significantly in Dubai. Will that continue? Will this up and to the right chart continue? That is what we're going to answer in this video. Okay, so far in this video, we've seen the population is growing. The tax incentives are great. People are realizing lifestyle is important, and thus you'll see an influx of people into Dubai. The GDP growth is strong. Capital appreciation has been strong in the past. Rental income has been strong in the past. Now, it seems like it's too good to be true. So what are the negatives? Okay, well, there is a negative which I've seen in a recent finance report. Now, this is by what's called Fitch, which is a ratings agency. And they've basically said that Dubai's real estate market prices are likely to face a double-digit fall in the second half of the year and in 2026. Now, they put the reason down to this. A spike in deliveries in 2025 and 2026 would cause a planned 210,000 units, doubling from the previous 3 years. Now, they believe that will cause a record increase in supply suddenly on the market, which will push prices down by no more than 15%. So basically what they're saying is property prices are all about supply and demand. Yes, demand has increased massively recently for Dubai. We've seen that in the population growth. We've seen that in the millionaire migration to Dubai and all these other factors. Demand is there. That is clear. And we've seen that the past few years in the trends. Now, of course, real estate developers see this demand and they say, okay, we're all going to build like crazy. And that has been happening in Dubai. There's been a huge amount of building going on. There's cranes everywhere, construction. Now, still, the amount of properties being built does not meet the full demand. However, it all depends on the timing of when those properties come online onto the market. So what this report is saying is in 2025 and 2026, there's going to be an extra 210,000 units, which may cause a dip in prices by 15%. Now, personally, I will say that this is highly area dependent. So yes, there may be a certain area where there's a huge influx of properties, and therefore that might impact the property prices or the rental prices. So for example, you can see here delivered units. JVC has seen a huge number of units being delivered in 2025. However, let's look at the other years. It was still quite high. 2023, it wasn't as high. So 2023, it was low, and only the past couple of years, for example, JVC is one area, has been high. Now, does that mean Dubai is not a good place to invest in? You should wait 2 years for the property prices to dip and then get in? Personally, I would say it depends. And it all depends upon the exact area, the exact property that you aim to buy if you aim to invest in Dubai. To keep this simple and answer the question for you guys, is Dubai a good place to invest? I will 100% say yes. Based on all the reasons I mentioned, population, GDP, demand, the standard of living here, the safety, all those factors. United Arab Emirates is a neutral country. So while Europe's getting into wars and US is getting into political arguments, UAE is just sitting there in the middle, being friends with everybody. They're friends with Russia, they're friends with China, they're friends with the US, they're friends with Europe, they're friends with everybody. So think about it as the Switzerland of the Middle East. Now, of course, there is this question of a huge amount of properties coming onto the market in 2025 and 2026. Now, I believe that will cause a little bit of an oversupply in the market, and it might impact prices by, that report says 15%. Yes, that could happen. However, if you're a value investor, you should really be aiming to buy properties below market value anyway. 15, 20, 25% below market value. Of course, they're not easy to find, but those deals are what you should be aiming for if you want a good property investment. So I would say, if you're interested in investing in Dubai, keep an eye on the market, continue to analyze the market, analyze the data, and all to identify the best areas to invest. Now, if you are interested, again, I'm not a real estate agent. I have friends who are in the real estate business. Feel free to drop an email to the email, which will be in the description, home@motivationtoinvest.com. And if I might be able to just forward you to a real estate agent I know. Again, this is not a sponsored video or anything like that. I just thought, okay, sometimes people message me asking for help in these situations. But yeah, overall, I would say it's a great place to invest. A likely dip will happen in 2025, 2026. But I would say actually that dip is the buying opportunity that somebody could actually find in the market. With that being said, I hope you guys found this video valuable. If you did, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't joined the community yet, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.